Alright guys, coming to you with another video. I hope all is well and hope y'all are doing well. After this video I may do another video. It's not really a conspiracy theory one, but it's more of maybe this is what's to come that they have planned, basically. But anyhow, the video I want to do right now is, I kind of want to talk about something that has been on my mind a little bit. And again, I don't need clout. Again, one of the sayings from the sages was that the best one of the blessings from God is to be in the shade of obscurity, so I kind of am along those lines. But anyhow, I was just thinking that with Nipsey Hussle, it's coming up on like darn near, about to be 3 years that he's passed, or it's actually past 3 years that he's passed. It's like 3 years since he changed, since he's passed. Like, one thing I noticed a lot of is that, and this is no shot, or this is no, how should I say it? This is no, throwing a dart at people. But one thing I noticed is that when people talk about Nipsey, when people talk about Ermias, I mean, most of the time they talk about what he was doing in the community. And that's okay. That's a very good thing to talk about. However, if you ask him about his musical talents, it's like it almost gets overlooked. And the thing is, that's what got the whole thing started with the community, was his musical talents. When you listen to, for example, his mixtapes Slauson Boy and Slauson Boy 2, he was already on a level that I was like, when he first let me hear those tapes, my first impression was like, yo, bro, you raw, and you on to something. You really on to something here with your style and things like that. I just called it reality rap. I didn't even qualify it as gangster rap. I labeled it as someone who's just giving you the get down in the hood, who's not glorifying it by any means, but just telling you this is what's going on. If you listen to his catalog, if you listen to his whole catalog, very few times does he talk about killing another man. You know what I mean? When you really listen to his whole catalog, even the song Strapped, even the song Strapped was like a biographical sketch. It wasn't really about killing, just going on a mission or something like that. It was just kind of like a biographical sketch on other things that were happening, and about how some people are careless when they talk about things that they did, when you really listen closely to that song. And I just don't understand how, because the thing is, he stayed on 50, his grandma stayed on 59 and 5th, and I stayed on 7th Avenue. So obviously we're in proximity, 2 blocks over from one another. So of course I'm gonna run into him and talk, and we being from the same turf, of course I'm gonna talk and just be like, yo, what's good? And yo, what's up with the music and stuff like that. And it's just, for me, it just seems like, I'm not gonna say it's fake love, but it's just for me, I question, would people even know who Nipsey Hussle was if he wasn't doing all those community things? Or would he just be like another rapper to people? You know, that's what I really question about when people, you know, talk about how much he meant and things like that. Don't get me wrong, he was a community force to be reckoned with. Okay? That's true. However, for me, what really just like drew me to him was the music. I just felt that, you know, his flow he was just giving you game. He was just giving you messages, and it was just almost like a biographical sketch when you look at his catalog. When you look at his catalog from Slauson Boy, that was just him being like in the thick of it. You know what I mean? When you look at Bullets Ain't Got No Name, that series, that was him making that transition to like being an entertainer. You know, you can hear the street stuff and everything like that, but you can still hear the transition that he was making when he made those tapes. Now, another thing too is that when it came to the Crenshaw tape, was just basically him saying, or let's just go to the Marathon tape first. The Marathon tape, to me, was him saying, okay, I got my footing. You know, I got my footing, and I'm moving on to something more. The TMC tape was, I got the independent thing down, so I'm going to continue riding the wave of independent by just doing mixtapes. You know what I mean? By doing the mixtape. So you guys are going to hear from me on the mixtape circuit. Then the extra laps was just like, okay, I'm going to give you guys an appetizer while I'm going to just shake the game up in a way that you never expected before. What I mean by that is the Crenshaw tape. The Crenshaw tape shook the game up. $100. You can still get it for free on DatPiff, or still listen to it for free on DatPiff in other streaming services. But if you were really messing with him, then you would do the $100 one. That's the one that really shook the game up, right? But then there's so many verses that you can quote from all of his projects that just show the level of artistry that he was on. I can't really like put his flow, like categorize his flow, because that would be kind of like difficult for me to put his flow in a category. You know what I mean? I really can't. But I will say that he brought something to the table that was a blend. I would say that his flow was like gumbo, bro. It was like a gumbo. It was based on facts, but it was just different ways of saying those facts. And the thing is about him is a lot of people don't know that he used to be on that conscious tip. You know, before being down with the turf, before all of that, that's what he was rapping about. He was rapping about that conscious stuff. So what happened, I think, is that it just became a gumbo. His flow became a gumbo. It didn't just become, the thing is, you can't pigeonhole him. You can't call him a gangster rapper. You can't call him a conscious rapper. You can't call him a lovey-dovey rapper. You can't call him any of that. You know, he just managed to carve his own lane. And so, you know, I think people just really overlook that, man. I really do. I mean, you ask half of these people about projects like No Pressure, You ask him about projects like, let's just say, Slauson Boy 2. I mean, they probably couldn't tell you one song on that CD. You know? And I mean, I get it that you like him for his community work and his philanthropy and stuff like that, but my question is, like, would you really know him if he wasn't doing those things? Will you really appreciate the philanthropy he was giving in music? Would you appreciate the game he was giving in music? You know what I mean? When you look at West Coast artists, like, for example, The Game, I mean, you kind of have to classify him as like a gangster rapper, right? When you look at a West Coast artist like Kendrick Lamar, you can't classify him as, well, I guess you kind of can classify him as a conscious rapper with just high levels of lyricism. When you look at Ab Soul, you kind of classify him as a conscious rapper too. When you look at J-Rock, I think he's one of those West Coast artists that you can't pigeonhole either, because he comes with different things. You know, he comes with different things. So I can't say that you can pigeonhole J-Rock. I'll give him that. But those are just a few names. And I don't know, you know, I'm not gonna lie to you. I think about Ermias a lot, man. I think about him. I would say I think about him like every single day, really. You know, just, I mean, like, you would feel something from just his presence alone. You know, although he's a human being like everybody else, it's just that his presence was just something, man. I'll say that. But one thing that I wanted him to do, but because I knew he was like the creative genius behind everything that he did, I kind of really wanted him to just do a double album, since it took so long for Victory Lap to come out and he's sitting on so much music. If I tell you he was sitting on a gang of music. There was a lot of music that did not make the cut for Victory Lap. He was sitting on a lot of music. Some of the songs I was like, man, these songs gotta go on there. And I'm just being real. But I guess he just wanted to kind of keep it in the same mode as how a lot of these guys release their debut album. Their debut album was usually medium sized in terms of song length, and it was just like, when you look at a lot of I know this is about hip hop artists too. When you look at a lot of debut, like when people are debuting their album, a lot of hip hop artists, it's really rare that they just are super mainstream in their debut album. When you look at Jay-Z Reasonable Doubt, that wasn't really a mainstream album. You know what I mean? When you look at who else? When you look at College Dropout from Kanye, you can't really say it was mainstream, because mostly Kanye was known around the conscious circle. You know what I mean? So you can't say that it was just like really a mainstream album like that. It became mainstream because of different singles and things like that, but at the beginning, only the hardcore fans knew about the College Dropout. When you look at Built for Cuban Links, it's the same thing. When you look at Iron Man from Ghostface, those weren't really mainstream albums. When you look at Wu-Tang, those weren't really mainstream albums. And I think the same thing about Victory Lap. When I first listened to Victory Lap, I remember I was just more excited on the project coming out That's why I was really most excited about that it just finally dropped. That's what really just got me going. So it took me maybe at least 10 listens, or even more than 10 listens, to really dissect the album, to really dissect the things that he was saying. Because if you listen, there's a difference between hearing and listening to music. When you hear music, you hear like you're listening, nodding your head and things like that. You're hearing the music. But when you listen to music, you're dissecting it. You know what I mean? You're dissecting the music, right? And you're listening to what the artist is saying in the music. And sometimes what he's saying, or most of the time, I will say most of the time, when what the artist is saying is you relate to. You know, you think about situations that you were in, and you're like, dang, that was me, right? And so there was a lot of situations that he talked about on that on the album, and in his past projects. Like, I was like, dang, that was me, man. That was me. But I'm gonna give one more thing too. You know, just to support his legacy and things like that, I did get a copy of that Marathon Continues, The Life and Times of Nipsey Hussle book. I did get that book. But this is my thing. This is my thing about the artist of the book. I think the artist of the book, he used to write for Vibe magazine or something like that, I believe. But instead of making the book when bro transitioned, why not go to him and get the words straight from his mouth while he was alive? Because he did some incredible things while he was alive. Why not do that instead? Instead of just waiting until he transitions. I just question that. You know, he could have made that book. He could have been with Ermias and just gotten the whole spiel from him. You know, similar in the same vein as Alex Haley did to Malcolm X. But, you know, it's crazy about that. And I'm going to end on this note. This is what's crazy about that thing. You know, you just never know who you can trust when you're giving your life story to. So maybe there was a divine reason why they you know, it didn't happen in such a way where, you know, he was just getting the whole spiel every step of the way about Nipsey's life and things like that, and talking to him directly and getting it straight from the horse's mouth. Because while there are some gems in that book, while there are some historical things in the book, and I'm currently reading it right now, most of it is just quotes from just like different magazines, or quotes from just video interviews he did, you know. And so that's why I said like it would be better if he actually talked to him, you know, and actually got it straight from the horse's mouth instead of doing it the way he did it. You know, it is what it is, but that's just how I view it. But what I was about to say is maybe perhaps it didn't happen like that because of the simple fact that, you know, Nip was very aware of how funny Hollywood is and how funny the entertainment industry is, right? And so one thing I will say is that even with Malcolm X, Rahimahullah, may Allah have mercy on him, I didn't know this, and it's a good thing that I somehow, you know, at first I wanted to get the autobiography of Malcolm X based on Alex Haley, based on Alex Haley doing it. But what I found out is that biography of Malcolm X was really designed to kind of set Malcolm X up. I don't know how true this is, but it turns out that Alex Haley actually was collaborating with the FBI, because there are video recordings of, the FBI talking to Malcolm X and he not saying a word, him staying down for the cause, even with the disagreement, even with the falling out with Elijah Muhammad. Okay, many people don't know this, but Malcolm X was begging to stay with the Nation of Islam. A lot of people don't know this, but he was at one time. And so, Alex Haley was really using that book as a smear campaign. If it's true, because it turned out he did something with the FBI. So, Alex Haley, he was in cahoots with the FBI. So now, the way I looked at it is, I don't know what parts of the biography are accurate and which ones aren't. So that's why I just stayed away from it. I'm like, nah, man, I'm good. I'm cool. I'm not gonna get that book anymore. And so, with that being said, I just gotta say that as a final statement, that like Nipsey, for me personally, he was just reaching he wasn't even at his highest artistry level. He wasn't even at the height of the lyricism and the height of the creativity in music and stuff. He was barely there. Although it took a while for Victory Lap to drop, he was barely there. Okay? Because I have about 9 unreleased Nipsey tracks that he gave me, that, he had some other stuff going on. One thing I will say too is that the one song that really shows his versatility, and I hope to God, I hope to Allah, inshallah, that they come out with this song. It's called Esta Loca Vida Mita. It's just fire. Very, very good. Fire. And, Pac-Man the Gunman actually named this mixtape after that song, Esta Loca Vida Mita. And he has a lot more songs like it that I will hope that, with Black Sam, he's gonna drop it. But, I was just thinking about that. I just think about it, sometimes about it. I always think like, man, what level of music would he get to? How high would his musical level get to if Cuz was still around, But I guess I have to remind myself that inshallah I'll fulfill my promise to him, and also a promise to another fallen soldier, Sador, aka Salman Nagus, to go to Eritrea. But there's some things going on in Eritrea right now, and we always know how imperialism works. When someone has a good idea, or when someone has something going that is opposite of the continent of Africa, then of course they're going to try to stop it from spreading. And that's what I think is the case over there right now. But anyhow, man, leave your thoughts and leave your comments. Let me know in the comment section, do you think that Nipsey Hermias would be as known as he was by a lot of these people if it wasn't for if it was just based on music alone, and not just based on things he was doing outside of music? Because when you look at, for example, I'm just going to end again on this. When you look at other artists who are involved in philanthropy, they still know them as like artists, artists. Like you look at, there's certain artists that I can't name off the top of hand, but they're doing philanthropy and they're still just known as artists, you know, and not really known at all, you know. But anyhow, man, that's all I got, man. Just leave your thoughts and leave your comments. Fula signing out. And